This meeting of the Cape Cod Gateway Commission is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Hearing nothing, let's proceed with the roll call.
Chairman Flores is not present. Vice Chairman Gio?
Here.
Clerk Weil?
Here.
Commissioner Beerworth?
Here.
Commissioner Bailey?
Here.
Commissioner DeGeorge is not here. Commissioner Melo?
Here.
And Yarmouth Rep. Christine Greeley.
Here.
We do have a quorum today.
All right. Thank you, Sue. With that, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. So the minutes of the previous meeting, September 16th, 2025, did everybody have a chance to review those?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Second.
Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The minutes are accepted. Quality thing on the end of this. Okay, next is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Paul Hawkins, and I live in West Yarmouth. I'm representing myself here. Okay? Have a couple of things. One is we're part of a neighborhood association.
Yeah.
And we'd like to have a couple people in our neighborhood who were designated to be the people to report to the airport on noise. We were told that can't be done. It's got to be individual people. So I want to see what we can do to change that, because we do have some people in the neighborhood that are willing to be, to act as the voice of the neighborhood.
Kind of like noise monitors?
Yeah, because what happens is, and stuff, you report it and stuff, and then it's the same two people, so it comes off as, gee, we had 75 complaints, but only 3 people.
Sure.
And it kind of makes those people feel like they're being isolated.
Right. Okay.
So what do we do to have to change that? I know there's been emails with Christina,
Sure.
and she's indicated that can't be done.
Right. Christina, do you have any more information about that?
So it's in the direction of the commission. Chairman Flores, the decision was made that it was individuals making the complaint. So if an aircraft is bothering you, you have a couple of opportunities: phone call, on our noise portal, on the email. But again, this is not my decision. This is the commission and management. However, I've done a little bit of research, and usually it is the individual that, and if they want to email me any way they can, sure, we'll take it.
Sure.
But it's hard to verify if you have somebody collecting information from other people. The other thing it's hard to do is that if you're giving a collective, but then we have individuals, so there's no way to know if they're part of the collective and part. I'm not really sure with the FAA how they, we've looked at it with them as well. Usually it's an individual as well.
Okay, thank you. Before I get back to that, though, is there any other public comment?
I have a couple other things as well. So.
Okay, why don't you go ahead with a couple other things?
Okay. I just have a question. Is that JetBlue and American, are they planning to increase their routes again in the spring?
The question is JetBlue and American planning on increasing their routes in the spring? And when you say increasing your routes,
Yeah,
you mean
from last year.
Do you mean new destinations?
New destinations.
I don't think we have any information about that yet, do we?
To my knowledge, not at this time, so, and I have not heard from them yet.
And second, the other thing is, and it's an ongoing thing with us, is addressing the quiet hours. I know that it's volunteer. 5:45 this morning, there's a jet going over my house. I know they'll say, oh, well, they'll urge the pilots to do that. I'd like to see what is said to that pilot.
Sure.
It's about disturbing a neighborhood at 5:45 was it an emergency.
Right.
It just makes no sense to me that it's like that flight was necessary. And this happens not every day, but it happens regularly. It's just really irritating when you're a neighbor of the airport, because you don't feel like you're given any respect.
Is there anything else?
That's it.
Okay. So, Commissioner's response to public comment. Any responses?
Well, I'll make a public comment.
Sure, okay.
No, I just think that this brings up the point of the roundtable.
Right.
That I know you've discussed. I would
Yep.
hope that that would happen in haste, that we get this roundtable. I mean, I personally, I could complain every day. I don't, because I have the same situation. Because every time I complain, they said, those are aircraft that are either taking off or on the glide path. They're 800 or 900 feet over my house every single day. You know, it does. It gets to be pretty irritating. So I can sympathize, and I think the roundtable would be a good way for the public to have it, because when you do these individual complaints, it's kind of, it is, not kind of, it's definitely frustrating. It's like, so what?
Yeah.
Live with it. That's where you are.
Okay.
That preempted what I was gonna say for the most part, but also, we did have, we were at the EMAMA conference.
Mhm.
We had a session on noise this morning, and I talked with a number of people from the commissioners and other airports, and we're going to try to exchange some ideas on different procedures, and the two people who headed the conference are gonna be in contact as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Come up
Any
with
other
a-
Commissioner comments? All right, well, then just in response to the two items, and you're already hitting on it, and you're hitting on it too, we are planning on a noise roundtable.
We're researching what we can do.
Yeah, and we're,
Have Sean.
and I think that's in our strategic plan as well.
Yes.
So that would be a great opportunity for folks who are interested in getting more engaged in this to participate, and we can talk about different ideas that we have, and as Commissioner Bearworth has suggested, other ideas from other airports that they're doing, and see what we can do to kind of open this thing up and make sure people are feeling that they're getting heard.
I was here a couple months ago, and I brought up that the town of Yarmouth had hired a consultant to look at alternative flight paths, and that the previous airport manager said it was being studied by the airport, and then it turns out that it hasn't been.
Right, yeah.
And I just want to know what the next steps are for that, because the town of Yarmouth has a consultant, and I think he'd be willing to check with Christine Greeley, whether that consultant would be willing to come back and present that or not. But he is, I think, on retainer with the town of Yarmouth.
Ms. Greeley, do you have any information about that?
Yes, at this point, Ron is waiting until there's further action here from the airport. I believe he's been in contact with Mike Nelson. And definitely, there's actually a warrant item and everything going to the Yarmouth Town meeting for funding, additional funding for Ron Price's consultancies. So very definitely the town and Bob Whitnow, the town administrator, want this involvement and to get things addressed that haven't been addressed for many, many years, even though excuses or we're working on it have been given.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll be looking into that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, report from subcommittees is next. Let's start off with finance.
On Tuesday, October 7th, the Finance Subcommittee met via Zoom. The meeting was called to order at 9:31. It was called to order later than normal because there was a glitch in scheduling where it didn't get posted in time, so we had to push it back to meet all the timing requirements. There was no old business. We discussed FIN 1025-1 to review and approve Mildred's lot lease pricing for future requests for proposal. We discussed that. We won't go into detail here because we voted to move it to the full commission today for further discussion. We moved on to FIN 1025-2, basically the same thing, to review and approve the terminal advertising pricing. We had some presentation and discussion of it. We decided to approve that and move it to the full commission meeting for discussion and potential moving forward at this meeting. FIN 0125-3 to review and discuss the Mass Department of Revenue free cash certification for fiscal 2026. It was completed on September 30th, 2025. Our reserve balance is $15,690,000. It was just presented to us for discussion purposes only. We did not have updates because we were running late, and the meeting was adjourned at 9:50.
Thank you, Commissioner Whale. Any questions? Okay. Next is infrastructure and marketing. Commissioner DeGeorge.
We did not meet this, we did not have a quorum because we had someone sick and, yeah, no,
Oh.
he's in Sicily.
Oh, well, I guess we know what his priorities are.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Bearworth. That brings us on to old business, in which there's none, and new business. The first of which is Commission Item 1025-1, which is the introduction of Permanent Assistant Airport Manager, Sean Driscoll. Welcome, Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you guys very much. Just take a couple minutes. First of all, I want to say thank you for the warm welcome, and especially to Mr. Nelson for bringing me on board. It's been a big change. I've met some of you, I've did some of you on the interview, and first and foremost, I just want how I'm going to present to this commission is with integrity. Okay. Down the road, there might be conversations, like some hard conversations, but I will do my best ability to always have integrity and always tell you guys the truth to my best ability. Okay. I do not want to keep things from you guys and also from the public. There's a lot of concerns that we have to address as a team and as a community moving forward, and I hope my skill set with this team we have in front of you will find common answers, and that we can keep working together and keeping the prosperity of this community and also this airport moving forward. But I just want to say thank you again for the nice warm welcome, and looking forward to be a part of this community, because in 2 days I actually close on a house on Cape Cod, so I'm very happy about that. So I'm pushing all my chips to Sarah. So, but thank you guys for this great opportunity for me and my family.
Welcome.
Welcome, you're very much welcome. Mike, what did they tell us when we first showed up as controller trainees at Boston? What was the first thing they said to us? Don't buy a house.
At Boston, don't buy a house.
If you didn't certify, you weren't going to stay. But welcome, and I'm so glad that you were able to settle in that quick. And I hope you enjoy the Cape Cod community as much as we all do. It really is a very, very special place. And I know that nobody is happier to see you than Mr. Nelson. Okay, the next item is Commission Item 1025-2. Review and approve Mildred's lot lease pricing for future requests for proposals. So I will accept a motion to approve Mildred's lot lease pricing in the amount of $1.44 per square foot for a future request for proposal. Anybody care to make a motion? No. First move it.
So moved.
Okay, and then second?
Seconded.
Okay, discussion.
Thank you. So the appraised value as of August 28, 2025 is $1 million. It was slightly above, but they rounded down. The market rent of the fee simple estate of property sales comparison approach and value opinion of the appraiser is $90,000 per year, or $1.44 per square foot. This is in line with the current HMI lease on the west side of the airport per square foot. The Suffolk construction lease of Mildred's lot, which was just terminated a little while ago due to lack of need on the part of Suffolk construction, and it's 33 cents above per square foot for the Steamship Authority lease on the south side of the airport. The school department bus parking contract expires in approximately 1 year. And the planning department did approach the airport about the potential for use. There's still quite a few moving parts to that though, and they're not sure logistically it would work, but they just asked me to make sure I circle back to them so that we're aware of their status, and the planning department does want to reach out to us and make sure that if they do potentially want to pursue the lot, that we're entertaining it and working with them. Another proposer is Ideal Floors. That's the proprietor right next to Mildred's lot at Ideal Flooring, and they're interested in beautification of the lot, not necessarily extending their business at all. So they would like to present to the infrastructure committee next month, and they will possibly have a presentation. This last month, before the meeting was canceled, they were just going to discuss it, but they are working on some type of presentation. And so my recommendation is to have the pricing of $1.44 per square foot, or $90,000, if we do go to request for proposal in the near future.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Nelson.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, it's the condition of the lot with the existing remnants of the building as is, was that the way the appraisal was made?
It's, yeah, and comps to all around Hyannis and the near communities, and as is, the use would be, as we had it before, is for strictly parking.
Okay,
Yes.
so would we be responsible for the cost of removing the existing buildings, or would they?
There are no existing buildings.
Oh, I
It's
thought
a
there was
flat
still-
lot. No, Mildred's was
There is-
knocked
oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll call the motion. All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And the next item is Commission Item 1025-3, review and approve terminal advertising, rendering, and pricing. So I will ask for a motion to approve the Nantucket Stone and Kitchen Design advertising rate and rendering in the amount of $11,720.70 over the 3-year period of the proposed agreement. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion, Mr. Nelson. Oh,
Thank you
Marguerite,
again.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You have a?
I didn't have anything to share.
Okay, Mr. Nelson.
And as you can see on the screen, and behind the screen, most of you should be able to see out the window, that's the location of where they would like to advertise on those, where the Shepley sign is and where that sunlight or sunset over the ocean is out there. And Nantucket Stone and Kitchen Design is a local proprietor located next to the airport. This would replace the Shepley sign and the sunset sign out there. Infrastructure Committee was going to review the rendering, but since there was no quorum, they did not do it during the meeting, but they said via email communication that we could move this forward to this for approval of the rendering also. And the ocean sunset sign possibly can be relocated. It looks a bit larger, so we'd have to look at the actual fabric. But, because we have other advertising also in the building that we're not receiving revenue for. At this time, no terminal advertising revenue has been received in over a year, and previously minimal ad revenue has been received by the airport. Shepley and Sir Prenat and Benensky Estate Planning didn't renew their ads, but still have ads in the terminal for aesthetics, because it just doesn't look right once you take down the fabric. It would just have a frame on the walls. The previous advertising firm for the airport advertising was Clear Channel Airports, but due to having a consultant, that pretty much upped the price and the premium for the advertisers. And Clear Channel stopped their contract with us due to lack of profitability at this airport. So I look at it as an opportunity to reset the advertising with the goal of producing a consistent and recurring revenue stream and enticing others to possibly advertise in the terminal. In my opinion, it would be better to have consistent lower revenue than years of no revenue, in addition to potentially attracting more advertisers to the airport. I believe many factors have contributed to the lack of advertisers at the airport, and think that the cost of advertising at the airport for the return on investment of the advertisers may not have been sufficient to invest and advertise here. The contract proposal, and I'll just show the rendering that they're looking for approval on. This would be what would be up on the walls up there. And just kind of overlaid it, so you would have duplicate signs, but they requested that we consider them having both of those spaces taken like that. So the contract proposal would create revenue of $11,720.70 over the 3-year period of the contract, and with the hope again of enticing other advertisers to come in. And if we reach a point where there is some demand, then that would hopefully proportionally increase the revenue a little bit based on that. So my recommendation would be to go with that rendering as they proposed there, and the cost of the materials and producing that is borne by Nantucket Sound. So all the cost is on them for that. And it would be a 3-year contract. And I recommend that over the 3-year period of $11,720.70.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
I do have one down. Up above here, this wall.
Yes.
Is the Oprah thing, and then there's the Clear Channel.
Yes.
Will those be removed in order to put the sunset?
See, the
over here?
sunset one is bigger than that one, so I'm hoping that
I
when we
mean,
take it
took
down.
both of those down,
Yes.
and then just
Would
centered
be-
that one up here.
Well, we need another frame.
Oh, and so if the frame's fixed to the.
We actually can take out the tension fabric and right out and replace it. That's the way they're designed.
Is it like
So we could look at.
permanent? I'm just thinking it's dedicated.
No, and I appreciate that, because that was my first intent with proposing it, is to, the sunset sign's a really nice sign, is to relocate that, so definitely take a look at it.
Commissioner Bell?
This isn't directly related, but how do we reach out to potential advertisers to even let them know that there's a space available? I know when I go through other airports, there are things that, are advertising attractions or things other than, kitchen remodeling.
Yes.
And, I would think that there may be a market for people that would want to use that space to let people who are coming into the area know that they can go to the beach buggy ride in Provincetown or, something like that.
Yes, we have a TV monitor right out here, next to the right of the exit door, that actually is an advertisement for the airport, to advertise here at the airport with Sue Kennedy's email address and phone number out there. So that's one method. And previously, Katie Service had a list of approximately 15 proprietors that were potentially interested in advertising here. And they, one after another, just said no after a while, so that's another medium. We have the option of creating our own tension fabric signs for the same purpose, of requesting advertisers and soliciting.
Any other questions? Mike? Yeah.
I'm just curious, in the main entrance area, there's I'm assuming it's a smart TV, but it's just playing a TV program?
Yes.
Is there a way to use that to create information about events in the town, even using the Barnstable e-news letter that comes out every Friday, to let people coming in here know what's going on in the community?
This TV over here is programmable, and we had problems, Matt, Elia and I had problems programming it, so we asked the IT department to look into it, and they really got back to us with a good program. So we need to look into a program for this TV that would be able to do that. For other advertising, I can reach out to the chamber and have them maybe put out a blast and see if any chamber members might be interested in advertising here, so.
Good idea.
That's a possibility.
Anything else? No. Good, okay. Mike, how does This 11,000 and change, how does it compare to revenue we brought in before for advertising in this space?
With Shepley, we had a previous contract with them for 3 years, and I don't recall the numbers. I'd have to get back to you on that.
Was it around the same, do you think?
No,
Was it higher?
this was definitely less, this is a less premium, but
This is.
Shepley, they had a proposed contract for a not much larger amount, but noticeably larger dollar amount, and Shepley never came back, and then when I reached out to them, they never even answered the emails, so.
Got it. Is this something that Pierce Couttet could help us with in terms of marketing?
We had requested that in the request for proposal initially, that they do the advertising. And then no one that responded to that RFP had advertising experience. So
I see.
at that point in time, it was decided to just let the airport handle it, but we could certainly look
Take a
for
look at
someone
that.
to handle the advertising. The company we had before handles large airports, and they did not renew their contract because we are such a small account.
Sure. I'm just thinking, 3 years ago, we didn't have the passenger traffic in the summertime that we have now.
Yes.
And now we have some really solid numbers about the exposure. So perhaps we could talk to Pierce Couttet about that, or you'll get maybe one of the other local ad companies in the area. But certainly, it would seem to me now that this might be a worthwhile place to throw some ads at least in the summer.
Yeah.
Especially like the Melody Tent, something like that.
I'm sorry?
Especially for like the Melody Tent advertising what's coming.
Yeah, yeah.
Shows.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I think in the olden days when I was first here.
Not that long, not that long ago, I mean.
We did, oh, I'm sorry.
I think the commission was a little bit more active in kind of soliciting that kind of thing, and we also did it in conjunction with marketing. But I think with the different people that we have on the commission and stuff, some of us could use some outreach to various places, and especially with the active adult department building that's going on around here and stuff like that. That's in the real estate advertising.
And we
And like
did-
you said, the chamber.
Yes, yeah, they would probably be a good avenue. And we did recently talk to one of our local vendors who does a lot of printing for us about these types of tension fabric signs, and they have set up an account with the company that does these, so that they're local and they can now print the signs for us.
Okay, good. Any other discussion? All right, I'll call the motion. All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, carries. Thank you. Next, we have the reports of special committees, starting with the noise report.
Thank you.
It's gonna be way easier this way.
Doesn't like it today.
You do weather forecast up there.
Don't tempt me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So here we've got our quarterly report. Usually I go down and read all of it. It's broken down by month and by town or village. The total for the quarter was 852 complaints made by 19 different individuals. So going forward with breaking down what we've got, Mike actually did this one for me, looking at what we've got and where we've got it. So this breaks it down by our specific areas and into the number of complaints. And this does that as well. So you can see, obviously, huge increase. This one goes by hours, so this one we've talked about a couple of times. We've got grade our voluntary quiet hours, as Mr. Harkins said. You know, we're public use, they're only voluntary, but maybe there's some outreach that the commission management can do, because there really isn't a mechanism at this point to say to any of the pilots, you can't, or, you know, and of course, wanting to be good neighbors is huge, but it's it's not something we can hang our hat on, that we can say you can or can't do something. The majority of the complaints for this quarter were during the waking hours, but as you see, we do have a good amount between 5 and 6 in the morning. And that is, as Mr. Harkins was saying, we've got some people in here early. Just as a matter of history, we talked about this before, we had years ago, flights going over to the islands, the paper flights, and they were in the 4 o'clock hour, and there was like 2 or 3. And the commission got together, they had a subcommittee, and they worked on this. They met with the airlines, they met with the people, Shoreline News, and the collaborative is taking them out at the 4 o'clock hour. Between 4 and 5, and between 5 and 6, that is tough, either side of it, but it did take it out of that hour completely. Right now, what the agreement was, and it's pretty much other than obviously transient aircraft, which we have no control over when they land or when they depart, is between 5 and 5:30. Any of the tenants, it's more of an extreme need. We need to reposition the flight, we need to bring someone over, and then between 5:30 and 6 to limit as much as possible. It still means there's traffic in that time frame. It still means that the community is disturbed. So, and then we had a good amount, because Cape Air did have some flights like between in the 10 o'clock hour. They haven't had that before, but they did between about 10:30 and 11. Before this year, that's not something we'd seen, so that was an uptick in that time frame as well. Calls by month, pretty much everything we're looking at here. August was our highest month. And this is calls versus operations. So it shows you how much we had versus the calls.
Interesting, those peaks are aligned.
Yep. And then this is year to year. So looking at this last one, 24 versus 25. In July, we were up about 1,000. In August, we were actually down about 200 from the previous year, and up about like 300 during September from 2024. So, again, we have a huge increase. The increase is the public is telling us what they're hearing and what they're feeling.
Yeah.
The people that I'm hearing from are people that we've heard from for years. The increase is they're saying, hey, this is each and every time I've been bothered. I always try to have a good working relationship with the people that are calling, emailing. I have sympathy for them. Me, in this position, it's more administrative, it's hard, the airport does not have any ability to fine or to restrict. Having said that, it doesn't mean there can't be communication. A little higher than where I'm at in the level, but we want to make sure that everyone is represented, and that what they are disturbed is looked at. The only tough thing with the amount is usually I would be able to go in and look at each individual flight. I could run the track, look at the actual altitude.
Yeah.
With this amount, and here's the thing, these are all amounts of people are bothered. Looking at it though, time-wise, if I looked at how I do one noise complaint. If I did that, the amount that they are disturbed would take me like 17 3/4 days if I came in, didn't go to the bathroom or anything, to get through all of those, to look at all of those. So that's the hard part, is I feel like it was difficult that I couldn't respond with that information on each and every flight. The other thing we can't do is I couldn't separate it by engine type or whether they're commercial or GA, just because of the sheer amount.
Sure.
Doesn't mean we don't want it, doesn't mean we're not looking at it, but that was just the only challenge.
Ms. Stewart.
First of all, a comment. I ran the figures on this, and 74.9% of the complaints were from one individual who was making I think 60 and 70 complaints on separate days. And I was wondering if maybe it's possible to help you in your workload to say, to establish that we're only going to look at 5 complaints per person in a certain amount of time or something like that, because there are probably a lot of other complainants who deserve to get a response, but they're not getting a response because of the sheer number of complaints.
Sure, and that's obviously a management commission decision. I think the point of what the citizen is trying to get across to us is that, yeah, they can say this one, that one, but this is the sheer volume of what the disturbance is. So it does, this is really good information, but as you're saying, if it would be helpful to be able to respond to some of them individually. Obviously, I want to, and my job is security and noise abatement. So there's that, trying to make sure I do both sides of it. And which is fine. If we have one specific, I'm absolutely happy to. But again, I see why this is here and what they're trying to express.
Did you find any commonality in flight paths or other aspects of the complaint? And did you look at a comparison with the total number of flights coming in and out?
So you mean as to what they received per day? So no, breaking down a lot of this realistically, time-wise, just
You can't do it with this.
I can't do it.
That's fine.
However, there are flight paths. Yes, people are on flight paths, but they're still getting the traffic. I didn't see a whole lot of deviation from where they should be. There are some times where it is. As pilots, we know pilots, they choose where they fly a lot of the times unless they're flying by instruments, for safety, for where they feel it's appropriate. We look at altitudes. We've made sure that working with the people that are calling, letting them know while some of these altitudes are not what the FAA would consider too low or a violation, the altitudes that are there are based on rules and regulations and mathematics. So those, we've asked them to also reach out to the FAA and say, hey, we feel like these aircraft are too low. And that's important because we can't tell them how high or how low to fly. And if it's not something that the FAA considers a violation, there's not anything, but the FAA could look at it and decide, maybe these aircraft are too low in the area, but that has to come from them. So if they say, hey, yeah, we've got all these aircraft at whatever feet, we feel like over this community, it's a lot, so they need to be at a higher level, and I'm sure I know that on grand scales, they've done that at Logan, I've talked with Mike about, but that is the governing body to make that choice. Has to be the FAA.
But there are FARs that govern the altitude of populated areas, and if
Correct.
he has information indicating that they busted the FAR, we can file a complaint with the FAA. And now
Yes.
it's up to them to prosecute it. But
So, and looking at that, I've gone over a lot of them with Mike, and what we're looking at is they're in active departure or arrival.
Right.
So, in flying over, over an area, because of how close we're looking at a 5 mile around us, you're, not being a pilot, I can't speak to that, but, it's looking at them, we looked at a lot of them very closely to see, are they arriving or departing?
A climb profile or descent profile.
Absolutely, yeah, looking at the actual, Mike showed me the mathematics, and he's very smart in that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't do math with letters in it.
Yeah, they promised me there'd be no
don't
math
know.
when I accepted this one.
And the other thing, that we know is the training flights.
Right.
We did reach out to the FAA, to an inspector. He gave us basically a legal, sorry, I don't want to say, like a legal decision the FAA did on the arrivals and departures, and do the minimum altitudes apply when they're doing, flying around in the traffic pattern. And their interpretation from 2009 is it does not. So still, in these flights, and again, the people that are calling, definitely this is something that the FAA needs to know. But on our end, we can only do what they tell us legally. Look at.
Commissioner Weir?
Just one, I was wondering if, where you have, you know, a large volume of calls that make it really difficult to analyze, is it possible to randomly take a little slice within that, or a couple of different slices and analyze, you know, a couple of the flights out of that? To see
I mean,
if there's
oh,
anything?
absolutely, and that's why, you know, like, it's helpful if I can hear, like, yes, we had like 25 flights that were really low, but flight at, you know, 12:02 was exceptionally low. It's hard to know where to look at the slice, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because we can look at any of them randomly. The only difficult part of that is, say we pick these random slices, and they're all like maybe above what we would expect, then we're gonna come out with an answer of, oh, well, they're, you know, we're not necessarily gonna actually capture when we have that. So, you know, randomly looking at that is great, but I think that also might make it look like it's better or potentially worse than it is.
Sure. Okay, can you back I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ms. Gruen.
I think this report obviously is very, very interesting, because I think that it reiterates for us the real need for this roundtable. And the fact that people, you know, there have been comments, oh, you know, nobody complains or whatever, but then you get to the point when people are trying to show you what the numbers are and what the impact is in their area, then it's sort of like, well, it just gets lumped as, you know, it's a certain percentage done by an individual. Personally, I think that some of those individuals simply are being sort of good citizens trying to work in the way that a roundtable discussion would have, where people are sitting and listening to this is what's going on. I mean, to tell you the truth, I would never have to set my alarm clock for 6:27 in the morning. You know, there's a flight that goes over, and I had another experience, and I did do the tracking on it this time. Even the material, the last time I complained to you showed that, oh no, the flight had come in straight in. I had another Cape Air flight come out of Hyannis Harbor, up Glenwood Street, take the left-hand turn over my house. And I think people are really responding a lot to a lot of concerns about the training flights overhead. And I think it's because when you think about that they're training, it means these are not pilots who've been flying for a long, long time. These could be pilots who are having some difficulty or lose control or don't know what to do if they have a particular problem. And I have talked with Mike before about the fact that many people around me, and I hear from a lot of people from all over the town, are very concerned because they do see, you know, more and more flights, you know, planes, small planes and everything crashing. And including the one that was on the highway last week, killed 2 people. And so I think that the issue is that with this information and with the possibility, and particularly with Mike here now, taking a look at what does this all mean? I mean, there really is a lot of history to this and a lot of feeling from people. I mean, I have documents from 1997 or something, or 99, in which your officials from here and from the FAA were going to meet down on a beach on Lewis Bay to then talk about what was going on in the overflights and what was happening through the neighborhoods and that. And basically nothing sort of ever changes. I think the concern is that it's always, well, the FAA says it's okay. Well, the problem is that the people living around the airport, and I think with a lot of the studies about the harm of noise to your health, physical health, the particulates that come from the fumes from the planes, things like that, this is a very highly, you know, residential kind of area. Both Hyannis is building, you know, Barnstable is building more and more apartment buildings and complexes for people, and then sort of it's a problem. And so I think, you know, I think your study and your report today is, you know, very, very helpful, because I think it is documenting a lot of what people are now saying, okay, I'm going to complain. I want you to know, you know, I'm not going to be silent anymore, kind of thing. And unfortunately, that's what happens if you're overwhelmed with it. But it just tells you sort of the magnitude and the frustration that a lot of people have had around the airport.
Well, I do want to address though, we didn't lump these together to say, Wendy brought up a comment, that's not in the report. In the report, I did not
That's right.
separate by a person to say this is one. That was a comment Wendy was trying to help look at it. And, you know, of course, it is difficult when you have a governing agency we're not just saying, hey, the FOA says it's okay, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We're bringing the information as to what it is to say, this is where our hands are tied. Doesn't mean we can't have the discussion, but the FAA, you know, it's like I can speed as fast as I want down the road. You know, the police can stop me and say this is the law because I don't like the law. But I can't change the law, they can't change the law.
right.
But somebody can, and somebody can lobby. Lots of people have done lots of things.
Can you go back a couple of slides?
Sure.
To the one that had the early hours?
Yep.
Yeah, there it is right there. So, you know, the old saying, how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time? So I'm thinking, is it possible that we could take like the midnight to 5 o'clock and the 5 to 6 o'clock numbers and plot them on a map? I mean, this data is great, but we're looking at numbers and it's hard to visualize impact. So if we had a map of the surrounding area and we could plot where the complaints are, and you're talking about 40 aircraft that in this slice, in this bite, right? And if we could identify what the aircraft was and what altitude it was at and put that on the map, that would, I think, would be a visual that might invite ideas about, okay, what are some mitigations? Would that be possible? Could we do something like that?
When I first arrived, Christina and I had that discussion about a plot. The only thing about this voluntary and non-voluntary hours is that the non-voluntary hours, these flights mostly are departing runway 15. We have calm wind conditions, they're going over Hyannis Park. It's, so a plot is very useful, but I believe the concentration will be over those neighborhoods, that neighborhood. And I have, along those lines, I have talked to Cape Air repetitively about trying to do their best to be outside of voluntary or non-voluntary hours, and also on their training flights, increasing altitude as much as possible.
Yeah.
Departing the airport, not always on runway 15 in the morning or at night, because it's convenient and there's no tower operating.
Yeah.
The discussions will continue. Their feedback from Cape Air is, well, you should make a rule if you want to do that.
Which we can't do.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So when I look at it, in like a preferential runway, you know, agreement with the tower, but when the tower's not open, it really doesn't do anything for us.
Right.
So, and the other thing about the training flights, and I realize there's been a lot of energy on the training flights since I've arrived here, is the training flights are necessary for safety. They're training pilots for all of their markets. They fly into almost 40 cities or locations, and for the safety of their pilots, their crews, and the people on the ground, those are unfortunately necessary. And when you talk about the unfortunate incident on Route 195 a couple weeks ago, that wasn't a training flight. That was awful weather, not low IFR, very windy.
Highly
stormy.
complex aircraft.
Highly complex aircraft, thank you. And so, without giving an opinion on whether the aircraft should have been flying, it's not a good comparison to Cape Air training flights and an accident that happened on 195, unfortunately. And along these lines of workload and being able to do possible plots and analyzing the data more, the position Christina's in has grown significantly and immensely over the year with TSA regulations, because if we don't have airport security, we're jeopardizing the people that are going through this airport. You know, you don't want to, you know, overemphasize or underemphasize it, but 9/11 happened, and this is what Christina does. She prevents those types of things from happening, bad actors, from being able to do harm to individuals or property on this airport. So with that, we're gonna propose, if it goes through the town and Human Resources and Finance, a new position for the airport. And this would have been coming up at a later meeting. It would be a noise, environmental, and assistant administrative position, so that we can more readily handle noise complaints and, more importantly, quantify them and have that person focusing on noise and environmental issues, and relieve Christina of that, because those duties, when you look at these numbers, 852 for the month, it's just, for the quarter, that's just an immense workload that needs more than one person, especially a person who's assigned to multiple positions.
Didn't we, I'm sorry, from our session on Sunday, didn't we learn that we could create those positions ourselves and fund them? It's
Yeah.
our authority under Massachusetts state law.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because we're in the budget cycle, of course, and if I recall correctly, I start meeting with finance on the 3rd, but they also, it's not that they're saying, no, you can and can't do this or that or the other thing, but Human Resources is going to analyze the grade for the position based on the qualifications and
Right.
requirements of the position. So that's what HR does, and then they talk to finance about this is appropriate within the town structure, and then it goes to the town manager for approval. But that, as I understand it. But then for our budget line, and this is kind of an easier one because it would probably grade out at a 7, whereas we had a project manager who graded out, I think, at an 11 or something like that, or a 12.
Yeah.
So we're saving money with that position because we wouldn't be looking at having a project manager.
Okay, well, definitely, I think that we should put a lot of emphasis on that, because that was my next comment is, what do we need to do to get an analyst in here to help Christine around
Yeah.
number one?
Yeah.
And number 2, and hold on just
Sure, no.
a second, Christine. If we're gonna have a roundtable, I'd like to have some sort of visual to be able to start a discussion. And again, I'm not talking about the big numbers, just talking about a couple of small numbers, right, the 6 and the 34. If it's possible that we can create a visual for that.
And as Mike said, to be honest, that one, the 6, the 34, and the 83 were all in the Hyannis Park area.
Yeah, forget about the 83, let's just do the 6
But I'm
and
saying
34.
those are all-
That's
they're-
all right,
they're all-
but still,
yeah, exactly,
we wanna
yeah.
share information for everybody, so we can
Yeah.
put that up there. And if
Right.
it's all in the Hyannis Park area, we're gonna say, hey,
Yeah.
we see it, there it is
Yeah.
right there, it's on the map, we can see where the impact area is. And now let's start thinking about, okay, what mitigations can we introduce that may change this, that'll move the numbers? And we can try something, if the numbers don't move, we gotta try something else, but that's the beginning of a process.
Yeah, or even just like what the departures are, like
Sure.
what runway are they using? As
Yeah.
Mike said, we met with Cape Air in hopes to kind of get them out of that, or at least change the runways, use different runways, and to try to mitigate it as much as possible. We can probably look at two, just over the month, how many between a time frame you can work with Vector, our NOMS
Sure.
provider, to say how many were burnt in this time frame.
Right, but I'm trying to get away from the how many.
Oh, no, but I'm
trying
saying
get
to
into the
then
where.
plot it, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Ms.
and
Wheeler.
I think that's what the whole idea with some of the roundtable is the idea
Right.
that, does it always have to be 15? Because if you think about it, heading over downtown Hyannis at 6 in the morning doesn't really interrupt somebody's sleep or the quality of life in their house. So it's things like that that I think, in particular, when you see the variation in a lot of the approaches and departures, down in Hyannis Park, clearly there's got to be some better understanding, because at one point in time they were looking at really using sort of Mill Creek as being some of the guidelines. Now it's sort of anywhere, in the area. So I think those are important points. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the noise piece? Okay, thank you very much, Christina, and.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, you don't, You don't have a happy job, I know you don't.
Well,
You know,
I mean-
in terms of the noise part, I know the
Thank
security
you.
part is probably much more gratifying, but we really appreciate your empathy that you offer
I really
callers
want
and
to
emailers.
represent it as much as I can
Sure.
because a lot of these people, like I've had conversations with for years, I almost feel like, you know, we should have like a luncheon at some point.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
no, but I mean, you know, really, and you do, when you get to know people, you certainly feel for them.
Right.
And just wanted to the best of our ability, I mean, any noise complaint that gets reported gets included.
Okay.
So.
Very good, thank you. The next is the Yarmouth representative comments, Ms. Freely?
Well, I think I've talked enough already about the issues that we have, so, other than to say, thank you to Christina, and obviously to Mike, and some of the work, I'm hoping Sean will get involved too, some of the work that really needs to be done to get some things moving forward after so many years of concerns that really haven't been addressed. I mean, they're being reported and recorded, but the whole issue of how, what and how can we get further along in this and try to get better understanding in the community and better understanding here at the airport users and all of what's concerned. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I know I missed that public comments. I wasn't sure, this is my first time here. But Wendy mentioned about someone complaining with 70 flights. And maybe you should, you know, knock it down to they should only be able to do 5. Well, I'm that person. And I sit on my desk and 70 flights go over my home. Every 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes 1 minute, they go over, within 1 minute, 2 flights. And it's noisy, and they're flying like at 225 feet. And there was one flight that was 150 feet. So I do with Christina, I thank her for all she does and her sympathizing with us sitting there, but it's terrible. The anxiety and the depression in the neighborhood with flights coming over, that's just me going alongside of my home. So if you want information, I have a spreadsheet, and I have the type of plane, I have how high they're flying. I have all of that, because I'm going to send it.
The
Christine
town
says
let
to
it-
send it.
didn't let it come through because it probably looked at it like this huge thing that might have a
Yeah.
virus.
But I'm monitoring it, and like Christine says, send it to the FAA. I think 150 feet and 225 feet is really low to be going over a residential neighborhood. And they're not only going over the neighborhood, they're going over the hospital. I don't think planes should be flying over the hospital at that low altitude. So I'm the one who's chronically complaining, and I'm going to continue to complain. I'm sorry, Christine, but
Not a problem, I love hearing from you.
but something has to be done, and it's been years that we've been complaining and nothing's done. And even now, we report it to the airport. Why report it? There would be other people in the neighborhood reporting the issues, but why? Nothing's been done
See,
in
like,
years.
I think that's super important though, because, you know, even if you feel like nothing in the moment is being done, the numbers and having that data to then present to the FAA is incredibly important. And while I know there's a lot of people who just don't wanna call or don't wanna do it, them adding to it does make a difference. Maybe not today, but moving forward and working with the FAA.
Commissioner Wheel?
And flying over a populated area at 150 or 200 feet is more than a noise issue. It's a major
And that's
safety
another thing,
issue.
it's not just the
If there's a hiccup, you don't have any room to go.
The constant jets, the whistling sounds, and they're so low, they are very loud. I've done it with my decibel reader, and it's way over 100. And I mean, 70 planes a day, that's gonna affect your hearing. It's gonna affect your health. I mean, my blood pressure's like 170 over 50.
Your name in town?
Karen.
I'm sorry?
Your name in town?
Oh, my name's Karen, and I live in West Yarmouth.
Okay. Is Karen last name?
Injure
Thank you.
Christine has it. Hi, Christina.
Usually in public comment, you're supposed to identify who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right, I just wanted to get
All
it
right,
on
next
the
time
record that
I'll
you-
learn. Thank you for letting me interrupt everything. I'm sorry.
No, not at all, thank you for speaking up.
You guys have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, this brings us to updates. Nelson?
Just do a Vanna White thing. Sorry during the conference yesterday, during my presentation, I had the wrong glasses, so I couldn't see the monitor about 6 feet away from me. Like, oh, poor planning. Okay, moving on. Speaking of the conference, the 2025 Massachusetts Airport Manager Association, or MAMA, annual conference was held in Hyannis this year, Sunday, October 19th through today, Tuesday, October 21st, and wrapped up this afternoon. Had a lot of positive feedback, and multiple organizers said this is the largest crowd they've had in years, if not ever. So, and they thanked us for hosting as the host of the airport. People were very happy with the accommodations and the help, especially Sue did a lot of help with this, and very complimentary to every person, from every person. And Council Lutke was there. Thank you for being there, because there were a lot of educational and informative things that as far as feedback for the airport and people who are associated with the airport. I think education is important no matter what seat you're sitting in. So it was wonderful to see the attendance, the engagement that was going on. It was a very good conference, and it was a great job by MAMA's president, Tom Hurley, the MAMA Planning Board, and Atlantic Aviation in putting all the conference together, and a fantastic array of sponsors and speakers. The breadth of the speakers was incredible. And Commission Chair John Flores and Town Manager Mark Ells gave excellent opening remarks. It was very appreciated by all.
As did you.
Thank you, sir. Too kind. And moving on, the hard stands. On October 23, 2025, this Thursday, I will present a transfer request to the Town Council that the funding source for this project be changed from a borrowing authorization to the airport cash reserves. Just to let you know, during this conference that was so well attended, I spoke to representatives of Mass DOT, and they gave a presentation this afternoon. And fiscally, their budgets are coming down too, which is probably most likely going to impact the amount we're going to have to pay. Mike Miller, the aviation director of aeronautics at Mass DOT, he said we'll get together with the airport and him probably within about 2 weeks to discuss further. So more to follow. The bid award acceptance letter was signed for Lawrence Lynch, and the contract is undergoing legal review prior to being finalized. And employment data for the last 2 years shows a 51.17% increase year over year, up over 60,000 for the fiscal year 2025, and had a strong July and August so far to start off this year. The September numbers aren't in yet. So, and a lot of that is attributed to American and JetBlue, whose load factors were very good during the year, as you can see on the sheet. The Airport Cape Cod Gateway logo on the tower building. It's almost like drum roll, please. So, the building department is okay with the 8-foot halos light sign on the southwest side of the tower, which faces the airport rotary. So that's where it would be, between those two top windows, 96 inches. That is really the maximum. What they do when they assess a sign is maximum would have been 100 square inches, or 100 square feet. So between the spacing between the two windows, that is going to be the largest, and also to have that halo effect, at least from one of the vendors, that is the largest sign they could be there. So it's appropriate for that. They don't feel that, or they feel that the amount of light that type of sign gives off will not be a distraction to drivers as they come up to and around the rotary. even at night. So, and it will not have any issues with the ambient light from the light, or it shouldn't have any ambient light issues from the lights that are around the tower at this time. And final design specifications require the building department review prior to a permit being issued. And right now, Sue's in the process of receiving bids from different companies and their schematics and specifications. Any questions on any of the previous, before I move on? Okay. And as far as the noise abatement, we covered that pretty much with the roundtable. Not only been researching the cost and all the requirements, including translation services that may be needed for that, and narrowed the scope to noise only within 5 miles of the airport. I was also waiting for the arrival of Mr. Driscoll to give his input because of his experience down at Fort Lauderdale International, and he was modest or just omitted. He's got 20 years' experience at that airport, so I think that's very appropriate and very needed as we move along to make sure we get this thing right and get it right the first time. And an announcement, really, safety drills, bomb threats, and active shooter presentation is going to be done right here in this conference room, October 29th, by the Barnstable Police Department. Just want to make sure that all the airport employees and attendants, everybody that's associated with the airport has as much knowledge as possible. And after that, we'll most likely be doing a threat assessment by the Barnstable Police Department for the airport, just to make sure we're up to date with everything in our building and around the facilities. And the boosting campaign that we launched this summer with Pierce Cote, here's the analytics and results. And it looked like, for what I understand of the social media aspect of this, we did very well with our campaign and reached quite a few people, 155,537, and 266,025 impressions. The generated strong awareness across all 4 target areas of Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Chicago, and New York. Collectively, the campaign reached, as I said, 155,000 plus, 266,000 plus impressions, drove 7,753 results at an average cost of 36 cents per result. And to break it down by city, Philadelphia was the strongest, and 2,351 results with an efficient cost per result of 34 cents. Balance reached 40,154 with over 71,000 impressions, making this our best value of all.
What is a result? What's the definition of a result?
So the results, I'm kind of hazy on it. As we move forward,
Because these numbers don't mean
it's
anything to
kind of
me unless I
like
know what a result is.
they're actually clicking on our website.
Yeah.
So
That's what it means?
they're doing more than just looking at
Okay.
what that little ad was. So now they're coming back and taking a look, going, oh, this is where we're going to.
Okay.
And
Right,
what
yeah.
about impressions? What does that mean?
That means somebody looked at it.
Okay.
Didn't do anything with it, it loaded on their screen.
And they didn't click.
They didn't click
to
or
go
touch
further.
anything.
Just like a banner.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman?
Yes.
Mike, also, what was the media you used, because those costs were really low.
Yeah, it was Pierce Cote.
It was.
Yeah.
But
But
was
what
it
did they do?
Facebook or?
That was we had the June meetings, if you recall, and first we were gonna just target the 2, and Mark actually was the one that said we'd like to target all the markets. If I recall correctly, he had a lot of feedback in the DC area that a lot of people he talked to knew nothing about DC to Hyannis.
And the Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority newsletter was listing all these new routes that
Yes.
are starting out of DC, and we weren't listed as one of them. And several times before you were here, I had asked the previous manager through Pierce Cote to make sure that we get something in that newsletter, and it's never happened.
Okay.
So I hope that that's on Pierce Boutet's radar for the upcoming season.
Yes, I had asked them a couple of times to make sure, because I actually follow them now on LinkedIn, because they do a nice job in the airport with their website and stuff like that, so
Okay.
impressive.
Good.
So, yeah, so good bang for the dollar there, bang for the buck. And then the DC area, speaking of that, was the lowest cost per result at 27 cents. So they categorize that as excellent efficiency, suggesting strong relevance of the messaging to this audience. And from the little research I've done, is when you start doing that, especially for the first year, first market advertising campaign, it's not, it doesn't have traction yet. So we really need a campaign that's going to be a bit repetitive and hit earlier, of course, this year, which we'll be seeing no later than December. I'm talking to some people now about that. JFK generated 1,919 results with an average cost of 39 cents, slightly higher cost than Philly and DC, but they considered it still efficient. And then Chicago here, 1,319 results, the lowest volume among the markets, at the highest cost per result, 43 cents per result. My assessment of the Chicago market, that's definitely brand new and possibly off of people's radars being that far out into the Midwest. And for the first time, we don't know if we identified the appropriate zip codes either, because they do geofencing pretty much like a drone and fence those different zip codes to those different areas. So
Yeah, it would be interesting to plot these against the employments from those markets, to see
Yes.
what the passenger loads are.
Yeah, true. So, but overall, I think we did get very good value for the investment. And moving on. So a 49 CFR 23 and 26, kind of a continuation in a different category of the DEI and ICE stuff going on. The interim final rule, IFR, for 49 CFR was implemented October 3rd, 2025. It impacts the DBE and ACDBE rules and requires the Cape Cod Gateway Airport to review all leases and contracts to ensure consistency with regulations. Having conversations over the weekend, though, pretty much saying that, and I have to follow up with legal on this, is as long as you don't do anything reference DBE, ACDBE, you're good. Just, don't go out and make those requirements in your contracts, in your proposals, things like that. And what we did with the two requests for proposals that are out there is we put the interim final rule as an addendum on the RFPs and just said this is the governing document so that there's no confusion and we're not speaking out of place. The lease updates. The Hyannis hangar sale was completed on September 17th. Steamship Authority is moving along slowly, but right now they're doing environmental studying, the storm water measures, cost estimates to develop construction drawings along with the project estimate prior to negotiations so that they'll have solid figures on what is needed for a lot improvements over there. The JetBlue lease has been returned for review by the airport and legal, so that's going to start this week. And American Airlines negotiations will be beginning for a new lease for June of 2026. Possibly, right now they're in a 2-year lease with possible 1-year extensions, but they were asking if there's a possibility of a new 2-year or 3-year lease for next year, and they wanted to get, it started relatively early because they said it'll take a while to vet, so that's why they have the paperwork now. And contracts, planning for the planning RFP, last day for the potential planning submissions is October 29th, and the engineering RFP, last day is October 23rd, so those are coming up pretty quick. And both RFPs had, as I said before, the RFP, I'll start again, IFR attached as the governing document. And the Mass Department of Revenue free cash certification for FY 2026 is $15,609,911. And right now, just as a note, the town is going through an audit of all the finances right now, and not sure when that's gonna be completed. The Town of Barnstable Finance Department reports the town and enterprise funds are in line with budgets as they were laid out. So that's good news. And then on the presentation, the commission had approved the trees versus fences last year, and those are the trees that were planted a couple weeks ago.
Great.
So
Can we get rid of that shadow though?
versus the fence. I was working on that this morning. I was looking, I would like to get rid of that shadow, and I'm with you on that. That one's a little better. I hit the
There you
right
go.
sign.
Good job.
All right, so there you go.
See, all you have to do is ask.
All right, so thank you, because that, speaking of cost effectiveness, that was much less than putting in a fence.
Sure.
And
It's prettier too.
way prettier, and I am hoping within 4 to 5 years, you're not even gonna see the background there. It'll just be a solid line of trees. Okay, and PFAS update,
Landing at Hyannis?
what's that?
Landing at Hyannis?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, you know what, I slightly modified things this morning. Oh, if that's all right, I'll.
Go right ahead, yeah, go right ahead.
Thank you. Because this was literally hot off the press, and I actually had somebody driving for me, won't mention names, as I was reviewing the material. So the Phase 5 Remedy Operations Status Report and Remedial Monitoring Report number 4 has been reviewed and being prepared for submission to Mass DEP. It's online, I just have to figure out, I just put in a request to see how I can sign it. It's 896 pages and a lot of data, and the initial analysis is the results are within expectations of what our LSP, HRP Associates was expecting. So a little on the good side. And we're preparing with the LSP to have a PFAS public meeting in December, which will be advertised in the Cape Cod Times within the next few weeks. And now the landing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Nordstrom Rack opened October 16th, 2025, and the parking lot was absolutely packed. And so I said, I'm just curious, I've never been in one. So I went in and it was absolutely packed, and associates everywhere and a lot of smiling people, and so very good fill for that spot in the landing. The Panera Bread construction also started a few weeks ago. Oh, I'm sorry, I walked in Chase Bank. The WS Development has handed it over to Chase Bank. And so Chase Bank is in there with their contractors now, and they expect to be opening sometime before mid-December. And went over to the Cape Cod Mall just to take this picture, so you have the Nordstrom Rack over in the background to the left. Over here is the construction fence for Panera Bread, and they actually have steel coming up. My eyes aren't good enough to see if you can see the piece of steel, but it's coming up out of the ground, the foundation's done, so they're moving along right now. And that's it for the updates. I did not add any more after that.
Thank you. Any
You're
questions
welcome.
or comments, concerns, criticisms? Okay, good. So that brings us to announcements, commissioners' comments. I just want to say, again, welcome, Sean, and you're very, very fortunate to have the opportunity to work with this gentleman right here. He is doing an outstanding job. We're all delighted with him. His depth and breadth of experience has benefited this airport already in the few short months that he's been at the helm. And of course, we were very, very selective about who we were going to bring in to support him. And you passed some very, very high challenges, so we're so happy to see you here, and we know you're gonna be of great support to Manager Nelson. So thank you.
And just to add, he's been a great mentor, like, probably know him for a couple months now, like, just talking with him, but just being with him and just seeing how dedicated he is to the job, but especially to the community. Because I know, like, we have a lot of challenges, but that's always like, what we always talk about, even when we're chatting, is like, how can we improve the image, and how can we get the community more involved with this airport?
Great. And along those lines, we do have a strategic plan. It was formulated through a community outreach effort in which we had many people from the community participate over a series of several weeks, giving up a couple hours a night as we put this thing together. It was developed under the former management, and right after we put it together, they kind of walked out the door, so it landed in my lap, who was not involved in the process at all, and that caused a stall in the momentum. So we want to diligently get the momentum back to where it was after we finish the plan. And we're planning a special meeting on November 14th at 3 p.m. To get into the plan and the dashboard that comes with the plan. The dashboard plans have the risk of us developing a strategic plan and their associated mission, vision, and philosophy statements is that they sit on a shelf and gather dust and nothing happens to them. So the dashboard brings it to life. So the dashboard allows us, in 30 seconds, we can look at this dashboard and we can see what the health of the plan is, and where we need to focus, and what's looking okay. And so hopefully on the 14th, we'll be able to take a look at that and get this thing back into high gear again. And it touches on a lot of the things that we talked about tonight, the noise abatement roundtable, the environmental impacts, marketing, all that stuff is in there as well. And with that, I think that brings us to a close, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.